Let us execute an immediate sweeping analytical vector shift away from the grit-fueled small-town backwoods courtroom arenas of the American South and amateur legal defense maneuvers, and ascend smoothly into the hyper-refined, calculation-heavy tracking grids of mid-21st century metropolitan law enforcement, weaponized celebrity lifestyles, and the deeply protective world of elite NYPD homicide detectives shielding their partners from high-frequency societal exposure. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, neon-tinted skyscrapers of futuristic Manhattan, exclusive Broadway gala after-parties, and the lethal analytical parameters of an intensely sensitive, media-monitored celebrity execution matrix with ENCORE in Death, the exceptional, pulse-pounding 56th structural deployment anchoring the globally dominant, chart-topping In Death series by the absolute undisputed sovereign of gritty, futuristic procedurals, elite marriage power dynamics, and masterclass narrative momentum, J.D. Robb. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, underestimated law enforcement asset running a strict investigative loop, a powerful, dangerously territorial billionaire corporate civilian ally, and an absolute defense of a victim's final personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn police procedurals where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of corrupt theater industry politics, deceptive celebrity inner circles, and a deadly ring of active administrative or social gaslighting while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised Manhattan elite ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated forensic boundaries, and absolute mental stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory killer network, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, legendary Broadway icon poisoned by a cyanide cocktail at a glittering Manhattan gala diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits, this book is engineered to lock you in. Robb completely dominates the gritty streets meet unrivaled opulence dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating institutional paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs Explorer Roberts, Corinne Slaughter, Iris Johansson, and Patricia Cornwell, while treating realistic futuristic forensic logistics, complex marital alignment arcs, and protective high society extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse couple, Lieutenant Eve Dallas and her elite civilian counterasset, Rourke, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of massive media circus tracking, deep-seated corporate entertainment vulnerabilities, and a hyper-visible targeting profile by the city's ruling artistic and financial capos. Behind Eve's rigorous forensic footprint logs and tense precinct ledger entries lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried historical secrets, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Eve's collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of outrunning childhood abuse and street survival, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from rival political departments, parsing complex behavioral shifts from her powerful, fierce Irish partner, and shielding her vulnerable marital autonomy nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. A beloved A-list theater couple hosts a premiere event, only for the legendary patriarch to drop dead after taking a single sip of a poisoned celebratory drink. As the hidden killer's calculation-heavy elimination phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier, a series of suspicious administrative sabotage attempts, targeted witness frame-ups, and calculation-heavy media ambushes threaten to permanently eliminate Eve from the active investigator registry. The official diagnostic metrics of the global tracking centers flash white-hot when her defensive maneuvers and raw forensic output reveal that her investigation into a jealous entertainment web is radically, impossibly altering the industry's historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine municipal jurisdiction and peaceful high society compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonist run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war across Broadway, where deceptive elite families, highly manipulative agents, and a calculation-heavy underground black market supplier launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the exclusive Manhattan bandhouses, dark theater backstage alleys, and private fortified residential chambers into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Rourke is purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy his massive intuitive tracking skills, overwhelming primal aura, and persistent analytical dominance to break her perimeter and preserve her focus, only to realize her hidden internal grit matches his own dark nature step for step. Our protective lieutenant protagonist is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, futuristic scanning skills, and raw physical stamina to maintain her boundary lines before the next competitive cleanup phase permanently deletes her progress. Every midnight archive excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an arrogant theater mogul behind standard security barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the dark elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Robb reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial setup or managing a toxic executive partnership. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of institutional hierarchy and high society supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their volatile union, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient heroine must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a futuristic police procedural / romantic suspense masterpiece / high society murder mystery / high velocity cyberpunk noir puzzle that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one whispered confession triggers a fatal backstage showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active precinct tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes interrogation confrontation, or a heavy possessive realization that an elite billionaire protector has completely mapped your personal biological coordinates carries massive structural weight. Robb writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the cold, metallic hum of standard-issue autosweepers, the oppressive, heavy atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, expensive synthetic champagne, fine leather, burning high-tech servers, cold rain-slicked pavement, spilled copper, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this benchmark entry into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. ENCORE in Death is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary fiction and intense procedural suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.